Moment of truth, I straightened up the pipe, I've done everything else. This is where it all could go wrong. So we'll see. Hey, my name's Adam. Welcome back to the channel. So in today's video, we're going to pick up where we left off in the last two Audi S4 videos, which was the first one covered everything from replacing the PCV valve, the water pump and the thermostat. And then the second one covered replacing the injectors, at least in the case of two that got damaged. But otherwise we managed to save 4 and resealed them, which saved a bunch of money, which was fantastic. So in this video, we're going to do everything from cleaning valves with nuts all the way through to reassembly, getting everything back together, as well as filling it with coolant and bleeding it, which can be a real pain on this platform, unless you do what I do, and in which case it's easy. So let's jump into those valves first and foremost. To show you how well media blasting or the walnut blasting works, so this is kind of a before, which you can't really see anything. Let me see if I can turn a flashlight on. So here's a before. I'll quickly do a media blast or a walnut blast and have a look at it. Now I should explain, I'm doing it a little bit differently in that I'm actually put a leak down tester onto the cylinder that I'm doing. And even though those valves are closed, you can actually hear the air escaping. So that basically means that they're not fully sealing. So yeah, I'm going to clean them until they are. This is after a quick blast with the walnut cleaner. You can see it came out really nice. Now I'm just going to put some valve cleaner in there, mix it around with a cotton swab. So with the valve cleaner in there, I can actually tell exactly where the leak is. So I know in a minute I'm going to open the valves and clean on that point. This is about the best angle I can do. So this one is still open, valve slightly. I clean the parts that were leaking. Watch this gauge though, so this is currently on 30, you can just about see the other gauge. So as I close the valves, yay! So we know we're getting a really good seal there. That's all cleaned, moved on to the next one. So here's how I can tell the cylinder is sealed. The valves are open, haven't started cleaning yet, but I'm just, there you go. Oh, these have actually got a really good seal. That's perfect. I know the cylinder is sealed, I can go ahead and clean. Doing it like this, where I've actually got pressure in the cylinder, also means that if any of the material, the media blasting material, the walnuts, actually go to get into the cylinder, they're forced out again, which is nice. 034 tool, duct tape, the actual media blaster rod goes through there. Okay, so here we are on that back cylinder, and as you can see, it is really, really bad down there. It's amazing what just a few nuts being blown in at high pressure can actually do. Look at the results. This is incredible. This will actually result in much better fuel economy and maybe even a little bit more power. It's exactly what we want. I'm going to go ahead and replace the valve cover gasket. You can see basically they're leaking, and that's where the oil comes from when it's further down into the actual spark plug hole itself. That one was loose. That's interesting. So was that. That wasn't even done up. Is that why we have a leak? Oh, come on. That one head needs cleaning. Picks are your friend in this circumstance. Idea being is you want to clean out the rust in the center to allow the bit to actually go down into the teeth. Come on, yes. Time for the real pain one by the look of it. Come on. Okay, plan B. Don't want to drop the engine to replace the valve covers, so simple Torx key. Is it our friend in the corner? Might be. Huzzah! Ooh, these are fantastic. They're in great shape. There's a tiny, tiny, tiny little bit of a wear line, but nothing like you can catch your finger on. The golden brown colour is awesome though. That is basically someone who has changed their oil regularly. You can see there where there was a bit of a leak. That's generally what you see. But check this out on the gasket, because I was able to remove it all in one go. I can basically look around the edge and see it was all pretty good, no issues. So it's not like it was actually leaking anywhere else. Maybe a touch there. But in general, the gasket's in really good condition, so it seems like a shame to change it. We're going to do it anyway. But where the leak was, you can see that sure enough, the oil actually goes across all three of the strips. Now what's actually happened is those two middle bolts were not torqued, and so as a result there was a leak. Ridiculous. All I had to do was torque those. But at least we got it out, we can clean it up, we can clean up pretty much everything, the outside, the gasket. We'll put a new gasket in and get it back on. Just where the gasket's going to go. I'll try and wipe out, not in. New gasket is on. Valve cover is all cleaned up, ready to go. Just get a couple at the top to hold it in place, and then I'm going to go around and check all the gasket is still in place. I think we're good. Let's go and see how they recommend torquing this baby. So let's do the pattern. It's got to go to 9 Newton meters. I'm going to do a hand snug first and go from there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Ooh, 10's a fun one. Ugh. Need to find a better way for this. 11, 12. You guessed it, it's T30. So that means only one thing. 9 Newton meters. 1, 2. See, I don't know how they would have missed those. 3. Unless they didn't do what I did and it loosens up. 4. 5. 6. Wobble. 7. 8. 9. I'll come back to 10 in a minute. 11. 12. I'm just going to check 1 and 2, see if they have loosened up. I doubt it, but let's see. Nope. I guess they just missed it. I don't think I have a crow's foot that small. Let me check. I do not. So what I've got to do is find a unsuspecting bolt like this one. This looks fairly good. And work out what it feels like for 9 foot-pounds. Okay, it's pretty tight. Let's try and recreate that down there. The bit just sits there, and then once I did it finger tight, I can literally take my wrench. It's in the way of the camera, but I'll give it a go. Why is everything always in the way of the camera? That feels good. Don't want to do it any more than that. I'm happy with that. So with the valves cleaned and the valve cover gaskets replaced, which we probably didn't need to do, but anyway, we can go ahead and reassemble everything. I haven't gone through step by step in this just because it's the reverse of what we did in the first video. So if you're unsure, just go back and check that first video. There's really nothing complicated. It's just doing it in the right order, but you get to at least see what happens there. All of that leads to this, and it's time for the supercharger to go back on so I can connect everything at the back. Floaty light. Ooh, I can kind of stand it there while I make some of the connections at the back. That's handy. There were some lower down, which was a real pain. Can't remember where half of this goes. Yes, has to be. This is that vacuum line that comes up there. It goes on to this one. These, which I put dots on, I know where they go. They go up here in a minute, and so does this. So I've got this up, coming up there. But around the other side, I found this connector here, which has to go in there. But it's this tube, so this one from the PCV, which must go on the back there. We'll check in video in a minute, but I'm pretty sure it goes on. No, it's too big. That's back to the drawing board. So I found it way down in there. Focus, come on, camera, focus. That one. That is a vacuum line. I'll point it out. And it's got to come up through this mess somehow and go onto there. So I'm going to work out what to do. So this tube here actually goes onto the air intake. This is eventually going to connect up to the throttle body. Back here, we have got this connector here, which is going to go onto the purge air valve in a minute. We've got two connections that go up here. The third one is actually buried down there. You can see it just there. So it's kind of caught between a pipe, so it will come up once the supercharger's on. This connection's already made, and I'll go around the other side. So I found this tube, you can see it there, and I'll eventually, once I get the supercharger on, work out which way it feeds through all these pipes. But we've got these two connectors on. There is another connector in here, which I'm going to put on now. It's like a 4-pin or something. Anyway, so that one's back on. So now I can just lower the supercharger down with all the pipes in the right place, and this was the right one for there, and then connect everything back up. Moment of truth, I straightened up the pipe, I've done everything else. This is where it all could go wrong, so we'll see. Such a light thing. Oh, yeah, it's easier now. With that back in, this pipe will actually just slide through those two pipes and just go on. These can all go back on in a minute. There's another one down there I want to get to before I go too far. Yep. This one goes on here. There it is. Okay, so that one goes up here. This is the one that's buried. See it down there between the two pipes. So this, oh, unless I put the wrong one on there, maybe. You have to check. Turns out it's got an orange dot on it. I need to find the one with an orange dot. So I would have got there via the process of elimination anyway. So this is the one that goes up here. Down there, that is never going to reach here, so it has to, if I can, go up here. Bingo, bango, bongo. And then this one, somehow, goes in here. These all can go back on. Got the dots, so we go 1, 2, 3. Maybe it goes under. Yeah, let's go under. I don't know. For it like that, I think. Yeah, that'll do. I have to take this off again to get these on, but that's easy. Looking back here, got that pipe back on. I'll focus this time because I've got two hands, so that pipe's back on. just went through there. Got these 3 done up. That side one's on. These are not caught or pinched. Okay. This is not caught or pinched. Wouldn't be. I think we're good. It's getting exciting. Oh, look. That goes up there. Click. Okay. Amazingly, the supercharger has just held on with 20 Newton meters all the way around, which I think is crazy. But we'll go ahead and do it. Must not forget this, which actually goes ahead and protects this tube. It just clips in. Just goes in there like that somehow. Maybe out from outside. Yeah. This one goes up there. This one goes up there. That just floats apparently. Something like that. Probably should have cleaned up the nuts. Oh well. See if it works first. Then I might come back and do it. Fingers crossed, right? And do a nice crisscross. Doesn't necessarily call for that, but actually I couldn't find in the manual what it called for in terms of how to torque. So I'm just making it up as I go along. So the purge air now can come back over, I believe. And that goes on just here. A bit of grease. Connector goes on there. And that slides on there. Don't forget the coolant lines reconnected. This was the bolt that was missing that I found. Well, when I found that one back there, taking it all apart, turned out the longer one was for the bracket, shorter one actually goes up here. And of course it's a T30 torque, so what does that mean? 9 Newton meters. You can see the shape that we need to make out of this. So basically means that that center bit stops just there, and then you've got the fork either side. Time for the supercharger belt. I will put a little diagram up on the screen. Generally, and because it's in service mode, I don't need that silly tool. Put it in service mode when you do this, way easier. So it's going to go around the crank. Well, I'll do supercharger first. Around the crank. And it's going to go under this one. So I've got it around the crank, around the idler, around the tensioner. And I'm going to now get my tool on, lift the tensioner up to put it around the supercharger. It's got to be easier, right? Now, do this. I should be able to slide it onto the smoother one. Come on. There we go. So it now needs to be taken out of service mode. It's funny they call it service mode. I get it. A little bit strange, but I get it. Tighten these up in a minute. I'll talk them probably later, because it might all have to come undone again. It won't, will it? It's at least not going to fall off when the car starts, because it will start, right? So there was me thinking, this was over there a minute ago, that this was some sort of airflow meter or something like that. It's not. Turns out it actually goes over here onto some sort of actuator. Guess that's for the supercharger in some way. Another throttle body? I don't know. Anyway, goes on here. I'm gonna find out what this is now. And then I can put this back on, and this vacuum pipe back in. Okay, with out of service mode, need to reconnect the coolant lines, which is fairly straightforward. Just these two, one there and one down here. That did go on, it just took 2 hands and a little bit of lubrication. So, coolant system should all be reconnected. Belts are on. Before I go too much further, I'm going to get the airbox back on, and then I'm going to test fire it without any coolant. Should be alright for a couple of minutes. Won't run it that long, but I just want to make sure that all the belts and everything are good. Can't remember, it's been so long, I cannot remember if I actually drained the oil. So, thankfully, now with the nice dipstick, I can check. So, I'm going to do that as well. Airbox goes back in, not strictly necessary, there's not much chance of anything getting in here, but I'm going to put it back in anyway for the time being. It's got to come out again to do the lights, and I'm going to replace the filter, but for now, doesn't hurt, takes 2 seconds. He says. Everything should be good to test fire. So it's been literally months with waiting on parts and just a delay in getting stuff done. But the moment of truth, will it fire? It's had sand in the cylinders. Will it blow up? Will it run? Who knows? Let's find out. Here we go. It's going to sound horrible, I bet. That's interesting. And the belts are still on. Could be fuel pressure. Don't think I removed the fuse for the fuel pump. Try again. It runs! It runs! It almost sounds smooth. There's no coolant though. That's good. What is that noise? Is that the supercharger? Does it really sound like that? Is that because the coolant lines are empty? Or is it just because we can hear it? Using the same tools I used on the RS5, it's held a vacuum now for a couple of minutes. So this is a little bit lower on 24, but it's good enough. So I'm going to start getting some fluid in there. Don't get any air in there, Adam. This one's actually a lot nicer because I can see the level. I couldn't see the level on the RS5. But this should mean that there's no leaks or any air bubbles. I won't need to bleed the supercharger, I hope. Down to 10. This is 2 bottles. Forgot to check if it's 50-50 mix, but I think it is with Audi. I think BMW I had to mix. Yeah. Do not add water. Ooh, we're at max. Okay, so it says to keep going until there's all the vacuum's gone. But we're already at max, so I think I'm gonna end up having to take a bunch out if I do. I'll just test, but I'll test with some air. Oh, I can pour this in there, can't I? Idiot. Bingo. That must have been the purge air system, that noise. So the idea now is to warm it up, be able to change the oil, and then I'm going to change the spark plugs and probably coils. I'm using the original ones for now, just in case there was any issues. Oh, and they also need to do the air filter. But it runs! I'm really excited. No leaks, no leaks. If it had been a race car, we'd have had about 10. It's a shame I didn't do this before. This oil has only got 500 miles on it. I'm curious what Blackstone will make of 500 mile oil. It's a long thread. Actually looks pretty rough for 500 miles. $500 miles. New filters going in, but what's more terrifying is you can see basically the sand and debris in the filter. So that's the most I've ever seen come out of a car. So I'm super happy that I'm actually changing it. I'll see if I can zoom in. There we go. So you can basically see all of that down there. I've actually dried the oil out. That is all sand. At least I hope it's sand. Ew, that's pretty rough. Yeah. Looks like this just comes out from here. I think this is a T15, I'll check in a minute. Just don't drop the screws like I did. What do you think? Been in there a while? Okay, that's just horrible. This will actually cut a new thread in the plastic, so it'll be a little bit harder. As long as it goes in straight there, you're fine. 1 Newton max, so really just hand tight. Then I'm going to have to find a screw for that one. Can't even remember why I bought these screws, but this is working out just fine. Again, just hand tight. Make sure that goes in there, and it's all ready to go back on. Look at that. All the air. So the key to this airbox going back together is actually this little tab. So you want to make sure that tab goes in that hole, and then everything should just line up perfectly. Oh. I love using a drill for this, especially in plastic, so it'll actually set the torque itself. So that's on number 9. Seemed to work quite well. Comes with a new seal, just fits in there, and then a little bit of lubricant just to help it all go on. This time I will put everything back in properly, so there is a tube underneath that needs to go on up in this corner, while still getting this part in. Ended up taking everything out. It was a lot easier to do that out of the car, so hopefully it will go back in all in one piece. Sure it will, right? Maybe. Key was lubrication, so maybe if you just lube it more, you'll have better luck. Doesn't get work at all. Yes. There we go. In place. PCV gets reconnected. Your line can go back home. I'm spreading I need it out to connect the headlights up. Oh well. I'll make do. Yes. Probably did need it out to do the spark plugs. Oh, lights can go back in. Connect it first. Oh, it connects over there. Maybe not connect it first. Ah. These slots need to go in. Okay. You can probably see it on the video. The key was I was fighting with this. Okay. Connector can go on. everything is lined up. So there we have it. This is an absolute mammoth job. I was actually really surprised just at how many connections, pipes, plugs and all the rest of it are there and how many can actually go wrong. So if you were to get a dealer to do this or even a third party, you'd probably pay close to $4,000 for this job. It didn't cost anywhere near that much, and I'll put everything down below in the comments so that you can see just how much it cost, or at least the description, not comments. So you can see how much it cost. But yes, it wasn't anywhere near $4,000 to get this job done, but that's how much you would likely pay if you're going to pay someone else to do this. So I really hope you've enjoyed this video. I hope it was super useful. I know I've actually gone back and taken a look at it a couple of times. I even did it on this video. I went back and looked at video 1 to work out what I was doing here. So it's always useful, but hopefully someone else will find this useful, because once you get this done, the car just runs so much better, which is really exciting. So really hope you've enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching and have a great day.